So this is going to be the second video in a series I do where I break down the basics of Reason. In the first video I just sort of explained what an oscillator is, and really this series is going to start with explaining what synths are about and what makes up a synth. So the first video was about oscillators, the very basics of an oscillator. This video is going to be about the very basics of a filter, which is another fairly important aspect of a synth. And these filters will show up in a lot of different devices. We have two filter sections in the Thor. We have two filters in the Subtractor. We have two filters in the Maelstrom. We have a single filter in the Dr. Octorex. We have a filter section in the NXT and a filter section in the N19. There's other filter sections, and we also actually have a device that is just a filter. Well, it's a filter and an envelope. The ECF42 is a envelope controlled filter. For the most part, it's just going to act like a filter. This envelope only works if you connect it up to the gate. We'll talk about that later. That's a modifier. But yeah, so you have envelope here as well if you wanted to plug this into something else. So just to go ahead and get started, we want to, before we do anything, we want to turn down these modifiers. These will modify this frequency based on one, the envelope, the velocity, or the note on the keyboard. We don't want those affecting it right now for this explanation, so I'm turning those down. But the basis behind it is a low pass filter cuts higher frequencies, so it lets low frequencies pass through. And what determines what frequencies get passed through is this frequency knob. So we can set so that everything above 2.09 kilohertz is reduced, and everything below is kept normal. Or you also have a high pass filter in the state variable. Other devices also have high pass filters, HP. It will do the opposite. It will let the high frequencies pass through. Low frequencies will be cut. So right at the lowest setting, everything below 39.4 hertz is being cut. And as you bring it up, it's cutting more and more low frequencies. And then the bandpass, or BP, will let a specific band come through. A band is like this parameter is a band, so it will let this one bell shape through. So what that sounds like, it sounds like it's a specific area of the frequencies is being let through, as opposed to just cutting highs or just cutting lows. It's cutting everything except for the specific little band. Those are the three those are the three filter types that are most used and that I'm going to be explaining in this video. And so, yeah. Anyways, just as a quick visual representation, a low pass filter will look something like this. So it's letting the low frequencies unaffected, and the high frequencies at this portion are being cut. This is not quite accurate because this is not a low pass filter for one, but you can only go down to 3K hertz, which on this frequency knob you can go down to 39 hertz, so you can go a lot lower. And in addition, this slope is very gradual, as opposed to this, where this is what determines the slope. A slope of 24 means that an octave, frequency-wise, an octave up in frequency will be cut by 24 decibels. So that would be like a slope super sharp, like straight, almost pretty much straight down, as opposed to this gradual line. As you move down, it will become less and less gradual, where 6 is a little bit closer to this, but still a decent amount sharper. So just to show you what that sounds like. hear more frequencies because it's at 18. More frequencies because it's a less steep slope at 12. And you could hear a decent amount of higher frequencies because it's a not very steep slope at 6. And so yeah, that's the basic of the frequency knob. This type 1 and type 2 has more to do with this resonance knob, and I'll explain what the resonance is. So visually, resonance will look something like what turning this Q knob all the way up. It will boost the frequencies at the value that you have it set. So if I turn up this this resonance knob, then it'll boost frequencies at 1.15 kilohertz. So when I have it all the way up, you can very clearly hear 1.15 kilohertz. And no matter what note I play, you'll hear those same hertz because the frequency isn't determined by my keyboard, it's determined by this knob. So if I turn this down, then the resonating frequency will be brought down. So anyways, that's the basics of what a resonating a resonance knob does. Again, this is not entirely accurate because the slopes are all a lot steeper because this is not actually a filter, this is a EQ. But just for the basic visual aid, that's what it looks like. And it's the same for a high pass or band pass filter. It's just boosting, basically just boosting, it's resonating the frequencies at whatever you have this at. So, or band pass. That's pretty much it. I sort of want to cut this off soon because I don't want this video to go on too far. But there is a slight difference with the type 1 and 2 with how this resonance is calculated. Because resonance is not as simple as just boosting this frequency. It's a little bit more involved in how it happens, and so there's just two different types of resonance. Yeah, and so resonance becomes really cool when you start using modifiers to move this frequency knobs. You can get some sort of phasing, some like pew 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 sort of sounds when you mess with the envelope or the velocity or something. So yeah, we'll talk about modifiers more with the next video. Next video I'll be talking about envelopes, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Anyways, I believe I covered all the basics. All these filters have the same basic filter type, but there are a few additional types of filters that I didn't talk about, and eventually I might talk about them, but it's a fairly complex type of filtering. Basically, it's just a different way of filtering frequencies. They're not used nearly as much as low pass and band pass. High pass is used a little bit, but like these combination filters are also interesting filter type. We'll talk about those later. We'll stop here for now. Anyways, hopefully you got something out of it, and hopefully that was helpful to someone. Anyways, thanks.